Hello, welcome back. I am Lady Darcy Darkness, and this is Confessions from the Dark Side. Let's set the disclaimer out the way, shall we? We are full of so much adult content that some of you think this isn't necessary and some of you think this isn't needed. If you are one of those people, then thanks for checking us out, but I'll say this only once. If you can't stand the heat, then get the fuck out of our kitchen. Now, for everyone else who likes what we have here, the regular scheduled programme will continue. Shall we get started, and are we ready? Well, we have had a few articles. This one I thought was hilarious. I was discussing this again with, it was on a live podcast on Twitch, which I was doing, and we actually discussed this movie as one of the biggest disappointments for us in 2024. It was a big disappointment for people who like psychological thriller and psychological horror, but it was some of the schools that have came out recently and how they're portraying this film. I think we both agreed, Lord Valak and I. Lord Valak is the person that I was doing the other fellow streamer that I was having discussions of horror about the best of 2024, disappointments, likes and dislikes, and things that we loved and things we hated about 2024 and the things we're looking forward to in 2025. So we actually did discuss this about Long Legs. Long Legs isn't a horror film. Psychological thriller, psychological, but not horror. We know that if Long Legs was to go against other psychological thrillers and psychological dramas, it wouldn't win anything and it wouldn't get the traction. That's why they called it psychological horror. And we've discussed as well, the only horrific scene and horror scene was when Nicolas Cage smacks his face, spoiler, off a table after he sings Happy Birthday for 24 minutes. He smacks his face off a table and kills himself. So that is the most horror scene in it. There's nothing, I actually don't think it's that psychological. It's not Silence of the Lambs psychological. And they tried to portray it as the new Silence of the Lambs and how Nicolas Cage's character and the whole story was supposed to scare and make you think. It didn't. It made us think, when the fuck is this movie finishing so I can switch it the fuck off? Is it finished yet? Because this has dragged on way too enough. So I'm going to actually link this, read the story that came out. I think this one came out first, actually. The $100 million scariest film of the decade, finally free to stream now. You heard that right. Scariest film of the decade? Hello? That is not scary. And again, it's scary the fact that they actually portrayed this as horror for horror fans who thought they were getting like Silence of the Lambs. But again, Silence of the Lambs is not a fucking horror film. Again, it's a psychological drama, a psychological thriller, and just a psychological movie based on a fucking serial killer. And that's why it comes under the horror bracket. But Long Legs had more, let's push Satan and the devil in people's faces, because obviously everybody gets... lots of people with mental health problems end up wanting to think that they see Satan. It really annoys me because of the way they've portrayed it as the devil and Satan, and not the fact that there's evil in people, you know, because, you know, Lucifer was actually an angel, but hey, not a devil or a demon. He was sent there by, you know, I could go here on all day the way they fucking portray the devil and demons and hell and everything like that, but no. So let's read this article that came out a few days ago from the Metro. It says, a chilling new horror film dubbed the scariest film of the decade, haha, is finally available to stream at home. If you dare. I don't dare you, because it's terrible. If you want to sit through that and wonder, I could have wasted time watching paint dry, you could most likely do that, or stick your fingers in your eye. Long Legs, directed by Osgood Perkins, follows FBI agent Lee Harker, who's played with the amazing actress, by the way, Maika Minogue. I love that actress. She was amazing as God and God is a Bullet. She is an amazing actress. She is such a good actress. And God is a Bullet, that movie is so fucking... that psychologically starts scarring, because it's based on cults and things that they do, more violent cults, more that they use violence and control and drugs and everything like that. So it also has the King Slayer in it as well from Game of Thrones, and he's amazing in that movie too. So she is an amazing and incredible actress, and people don't like Nicolas Cage. I think Nicolas Cage is brilliant. Like I said, Nicolas Cage plays himself every time he's in a movie, and he does get into his roles, and he enjoys what he does, and he does every fucking film under the sun, showing that he doesn't give a fuck about the fucking price tag of the movie as long as he's working, so he can actually have a lifestyle that he's probably used to. So The killer brutally annihilates entire families, but with a twist, it isn't the slayer who calls himself Longlegs that carries out the crimes. Rather, he somehow seems to convince the father of each family to do his bidding. They use a doll that has voices and apparently brainwashes the parents over time to be subservient to the voice, and the dad is the one who has to kill his family. But if things don't go, they have someone else to deal with that because everybody's got to die. Apparently. As Harker delves into the twisted occult world of Longlegs, his true nature becomes a little too close to home for the detective. And if you don't realise that from the first time you watch the movie, that all surrounds her, you shouldn't watch psychological thrillers if you can't fucking work that out. Thanks to Neon's cryptic marketing campaign, which saw horror fans deciphering a strange code to unveil the film's title, anticipation was high for Nicolas Cage starring production. And fans who never caught the spine-tingling horror during its cinema run can now stream it via Amazon Prime Video. They showed a lot of the good parts of the movie in the trailer, and there was multiple trailers, so yeah. Some critics have dubbed it the scariest film of the decade. I'm smiling at the moment because it's so not true. Longlegs sits at an 86% rating on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, with many lauding Cage's terrifying performance as a titular killer, as well as It Follows star Murnau. Now, they use It Follows, yes, that was another horror film she was in, but they're not using God is a Bullet, which is actually our better movie. But hey, dubbed the film Mac Kermode, dubbed the film genuinely properly upsetting, well, the Australian said a palpable fear runs through it. The palpable fear was like, when the fuck's this getting scary and when the fuck does this get horror? Because it never fucking happened the entire time. Just because there's blood in a film doesn't mean it's necessarily horror. Just because they're trying to push a satanic narrative that caused them to do it. Not that people are fucking evil and unstable in their own fucking right, by the way. You know? You couldn't make it believable even if you tried. YouTuber Perry Nemiroff added Longlegs unsolved serial killer cases. Unsolved serial killer case is hugely unnerving, and where things land, I've never seen anything quite like it. Really? Because it was not a horror film, it was not scary, it was predictable, you knew exactly what the fuck was going to happen, and if you didn't, then there's something wrong with you. You shouldn't be fucking watching films like if you're not intelligently capable of actually working out a fucking plot. NPR praised director Perkins. Of course they did, right? And part of what makes the film so effective is that it doesn't really depend on secrets or surprises. I'm not surprised because everything's fucking there. They actually have like similar shepherd tones and stuff that you know things are going to happen, but they've already fucking happened. They're not even in time. That's the thing. They're not even in time. And then if they think that they're kind of lost the people, they put the sound on to try to bring you back. And it doesn't. I was already lost after like 30 minutes. The film was like, why the fuck's this good? Why the fuck did Lord Violet lie to me and say the film was good? Again, many praised the fucking director and Nicolas Cage and Mika. Some people said she was monotone. I think they were trying to make her monotone so she sounded more autistic, and that apparently autistic people have no sense of humour. They don't have any friends. They don't have any we don't have any socialisation skills a lot of the time. We have to work in them because it's a lot difficult for it. It's a lot more difficult than it is. But they made her so monotone, she was boring. That's the thing. It's just like, oh, for fuck's sake. The writer and director, Osgood Perkins, summons an atmosphere of dread. No, it doesn't. The only thing I felt like, when is this going to end? I just kept looking at my fucking watch. I kept looking at my phone because I don't wear a watch. It's practically spoiler-proof. It's about a serial killer going after young kids and then young girls and then killing their full families. Again, it kind of tells you that in the first part of the movie anyway. And the movie starts off incredibly slow, like they're going to build up to a story, and then they realise, holy shit, we need an ending. And they do 2 parts. They do that thing where they bring the screen down. It's like part 2, scene 2, act 2 pish. And it's really annoying. It didn't need that. It really fucking didn't. The Wall Street Journal echoed a similar sentiment. Writer-director Osgood has come up with something fresh, pungent and visceral. No, he didn't. It's easily the most effective work of horror I've seen this year. It wasn't a fucking horror film, Wall Street Journal. Shut the fuck up. The Times promised Longlegs will give you a bona fide case of the heebie-jeebies. No, it didn't. The Daily Beast called it a thriller that grows fouler and scarier with every step forward. every step towards damnation. The damnation is the fact that they fucking called this a horror film when it clearly fucking wasn't. Slash Film thought it was the most terrifying horror movie of 2024. Ha ha ha, how much money were you paid for that clout chasing fuck? But Flickering Myth went a step further, crowning Longlegs the scariest movie of the decade. Oh my god. Speaking to Metro, the cast of Longlegs explained their reaction to seeing Cage in his terrifying costume. That I always said. His transformation into that character. Lots of people said you can't tell it's him. See if you're a Nicolas Cage fan, you can't. See if he didn't lose his shit in the car, which I still think is in his contract for him to lose his shit, because you can tell it's him straight away in the car, where he's screaming. That literally is like any of his movies where he goes, oh, I'm a vampire, and makes random noises and just shouts and screams and everything. That is his niche. Nicolas Cage loses his shit. There's a fucking YouTube video that always cheers me up called Nicolas Cage loses his shit. Watch it. You understand that this is his niche of losing his shit. And it's in every one of his movies to some sort of extent. And we look for it. Nicolas Cage fans look for him losing his shit. It goes, apparently one that was kept from every trailer poster and social media post in the run up to the film's release. They tried to hide what he would look like so it could be surprising, yet was not surprising. I thought he portrayed the character well, because I always say that he always brings the character to life, whether the story is good or not. He does his job, he's an actor, and he becomes that character. But it wasn't a horror film, people. It was not. I had no idea how scary it was going to be. I mean, it was so scary that you need a new word to describe what he looks like. Alicia Witt confessed. Now, Alicia Witt plays Maika's mother. And again, you'll find out she's very odd, very eccentric, but she kind of acts like, you know, we some people who've been through a lot of trauma, especially people who have to be completely sedated to actually get through their life day to day, because the atrocities that they've gone through, they just can't live with their everyday life. She's got a very slow, monotone, very dry sound, and you don't understand it until you start piecing together what the fuck the mother's got to do with the story. And what the fuck Harker, the agent that Maika plays, why she's the way she is. And then you start to realise it's more of a trauma response and how she actually talks, how she actually acts, and how she goes about her day to day. Fight or flight. Pretty much fight or flight, living with a mother like that. And also a lot of secrets, a lot of lies. And the way, when I say it's psychological, matters in the mind, especially for Longlegs, is the fact that so much went on in Harker's life growing up that her brain had rewritten it. And now I understand what that's like, because I too have that issue, that all the bad things are there, but all the good things are all completely covered up. So we have this obscure version of what happened in our childhood, what happened in our life, and then in turn, as we are adults, we can't really process some of the things that happen because we associate everything with bad and not good. And that's what they kind of do with Lee Harker as well. But this film was never supposed to be a horror film. We've discussed it plenty on Twitch, that it couldn't win awards in its own category, so they put horror into it. And sad to say, that's what happened. So that was the article from the Metro, and we have one more article. So we do. The other article is from The Independent, and this was today. Psychologically scarring horror film now available to watch online. Film left fans unable to sleep. And was called one of the best serial killer films in recent memory. Again, no. I think everybody who tries to do a movie about a serial killer, because this isn't based on any serial killer whatsoever. It's not based on Hannibal Lecter. It's not any of the serial killers that actually we know about now, especially ones that in recent years that have been caught for like decades long crimes. It's nothing to do with them at all. This is just a story that they tried to say was like Silence of the Lambs, even though it's not. We've had Hannibal, that was a TV show that literally got canned, even though it was a very good TV show that actually depicted everything and broke down everything that Hannibal Lecter was, things that we didn't know about him, or things that they wanted us to know about him, but they had painted a picture and told us a story. This did not. It failed and was anticlimactic in many different ways of the film. So a psychologically scanning horror movie, apparently independent, dubbed one of the best serial killer movies in recent memory, is now available for streaming. Long Legs, directed by Oz Perkins, who did Gretel and Hansel, I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, follows FBI agent Lee Harker as she investigates a series of murders attributed to a satanic killer known as Long Legs, Nicolas Cage, in the 1990s. The movie, you find it hard to believe when it's actually being made. You can tell it's made in the past because of the way they are dressed and the way they act. But it started in the 70s. That's where it started in. So it seems, because you can tell by the way they're dressed, the way the kids are dressed, it's clearly the 70s. But they've made it kind of, tried to make it really old looking with the cars and stuff. When the film was released, it was dubbed one of the best serial killer films in recent memory by Matt Neglia, editor of the Next Best Picture, who obviously was paid to say that, who added that the movie was psychologically scarring as well as sinister and an unnerving descent into hell that will haunt your mind and soul. It doesn't. Some fans were left unable to sleep as audience hailed the movie as the best in the genre since the Silence of the Lambs franchise. And again, I am in my beauty room right now. I'm in my horror room right now, and I'm literally, I can't believe people are still trying to push that this is the scariest movie ever. Horror movies don't tend to scare me at all. Real life scares me because it's horrific enough. The shit happens. I do not read the newspapers. I do not watch the news for that purpose, because everything in the world is so depressingly horrific. That film can't scare me. But this film was not scary. It had no scary aspects. My husband isn't into horror. He watches horror movies because I do, and a lot of the movies that we watch are horror and sci-fi and fantasy, what we actually do enjoy. So he didn't want to tell me he didn't like the film, so I was like, I didn't like that, that was shit. I did not like it. No. So he didn't agree that it should have been a horror either, and everybody I've spoken to who's seen it said it's not a horror movie. People who love horror say it's not horror. And that's why I hate the fact it's getting pushed as the best horror film this decade. Hello, Terrifier had a small budget. Was it the original movie was 10k and it made millions. The second one made millions. They made another one and no one would fund it. So the director and who writes it as well, the person who created it, had to do this on his own. So he made a movie with 2 million from obviously what he made from the other movies. And this film get hysteria. A horror movie about a serial killing clown. Art is amazing though. We love art. Art completely kills people in the weirdest and most horrific ways possible. And it's gory. It's full of blood, body horror. We love it. And apparently Long Legs is getting told that it's the best and most bloodiest, also the best and most horrific movie that's actually came out in the past year. In the past decade, it's the best serial killer movie. And again, no, it fucking isn't. And I don't know who the fuck is writing this shit, but they need to fucking stop because they are gaslighting people. Yes, you are fucking gaslighting the horror community, and people who are fanatics like me will literally, we're sticking to our guns and we are telling you this is not a fucking horror film and that you need to get your head out your ass and stop fucking with our fucking genre. Fucking deal with it. Part of the terror associated with Long Legs is Cage's terrifying transformation, which was kept cryptic in the film's trailer ahead of the release. Now, that was the best and the most smart thing that they did, was keep his look to they couldn't. That was the only thing going for them. Having the kind of the wee soft voice of him, you can tell it's Nicolas Cage. I shut my eyes, I can hear Nicolas Cage. It doesn't matter. There's certain ways, the way he pronounces words and the way he enunciates things, you can tell it's him. And again, I'm deaf. I have a problem with hearing, so I really fixate on voice and also lip reading as well when I'm watching things. So I know certain facial expressions and stuff of his because the amount of movies of his I've watched, because I enjoy him as an actor. So come from all you fucking want. I like Nicolas Cage. Every fucking body loves him in something. Shut the fuck up. The actor told Entertainment Weekly that this decision was the equivalent to driving people towards a freak show at a circus tent, which again, I totally agree. Of his character, the star added, the monster is a highly, highly dangerous substance. The way it's moved, unveiled, deployed, had to be treated very carefully. And again, they did that with tact for his look, but not the whole movie. They just tried to gaslight us and catfish us into a horror film that wasn't even a horror film. Forget about the movie theatre blowing up. The whole city could blow up. Nay, the country. Maybe even the world. Fucking hell, what shite are you writing? He is going to change your reality. Your doors of perception are going to open and your life is not going to be the same. reading this article, my life isn't going to be the same because you fucking lied. Sorry, you played with the truth. However, some felt the movie did not live up to the hype. The Independent film critic Clarice Lowry her name is actually Clarice. Hilarious. Not that her name, it's the fact that she did a critic's review of a movie that's supposed to be hailed the next Silence of the Lambs. And what was fucking Jodie Foster's name in the movie? Clarice Starling. What the fuck? And apparently enjoyed the film and gave it 4 stars, but wrote all this noise while for a chunk of its audience set up the wrong expectations. But she gave it 4 out of fucking 5. Oh, should they be fucking reviewing anybody anything or anything if you can't fucking properly give it a good review? Would you give it 4 fucking stars for? For my perhaps already cursed sensibilities, Longlegs isn't some unshakable artifact of malevolence, and more like a knife in the back, nasty, precise, and unexpected. It was very expected. It was right there. All the clues were on screen. You didn't have to look for them because they said they wanted to make it easier for the viewer and the audience. The people watching these films want a challenge. They want a challenge. They want to be able to find out and figure out who the killer is and who done it and why. They don't need you to fucking tell them. Fuck's sake. From its first frame to its last, it shifts from a morbid chill to a freaky little satanic jaunt. And again, the Satanism, all the stuff that they did, that was absolute bullshit, by the way. If I was a Satanist, I'd be fucking pissed off. It's as subtle as a magic trick, not Isney. And a way for writer-director Osgood Perkins, son of Psycho star Anthony Osgood, a useful heritage in his context. Your dad brought us a fucking movie that literally is still a classic, has had multiple reiterations of said movie, remakes that have failed, and sequels, and a TV show that actually was good until it went off on a fucking tangent. You need slapped, Osgood, you really do. I said, you've came from good stock and you fucking gave us this shite to have his cake and eat it too. No, he did not have his cake and eat it too. Is this the same movie? So, again, have you seen Longlegs? Do you feel that they should have kept it in the psychological subgenre? It should have been psychological and then thriller. Or thriller and psychological. I don't know what would come first. What people would class it as psychological was more of the aspect of it, but it failed even at that. Because the clues were there. Psychological thrillers, people like to look for things. They like to look for the Easter eggs and the things that people might not be looking for. I know I do. Especially when it's numbers. Number patterns. That is something in symbols. This had number patterns and symbols, but it literally showed you everything and everything was given to her. She didn't even have to work that hard. The killer gave her the fucking code. Spoiler. He gave her the fucking thing to decrypt the code. He wanted her to realise who she was to him and how she played a part in this story that she didn't even fucking know she was a part of. That's how fucked up psychologically the woman who's in the FBI managed to pass a psych test as well when she's psychologically unstable technically because of all the shit that happened to her and the traumatic events. She wouldn't be in the fucking FBI. That's the thing. She wouldn't be because you do all these fucking tests before you go into places like this. I'm really disappointed in the fact that they keep trying to push this as the best horror movie in the past 10 years when there's plenty of horror movies that came out in 2024 that didn't have the budget and weren't as big but had the punch that we needed and the kick up the arse that horror needed, because horror is getting slumped into psychological and action and God knows how many different fucking subgenres and genres, because a lot of the time these movies cannot make it on their own, so they put horror in it because it can be put in the horror genre and they can win awards for it. That's what it's about at the end of the day. They don't give a fuck about the audience. They don't give a fuck. They care about you coming to the cinema and the movie theatres for you to spend money. They don't want to go straight to streaming, even though streaming services were good enough during the pandemic. People like myself who have always had to live a sheltered, vulnerable life because we cannot go to places because of the risk of our health, streaming services during the pandemic were great for us because we could enjoy movies at the time everybody else gets to rather than wait for a streaming service or wait until it comes to Blu-ray and that kind of thing. Streaming services did a good thing for them when they couldn't do theatrical releases. This is a movie that should never been at the cinema. It should have been a straight to streaming. It should have. That's my honesty. I do not think that it was a huge blockbuster that should have been there. I think it should have been not a straight to video, but it should have been a streaming service that got it. Prime should have had it, and maybe that would have caused people to watch it more because it was only available on Prime. and maybe make money that way. But it didn't set, it wasn't at the cinema for a hell of a long time either, because it flopped because people were expecting horror and it wasn't. Them pushing this as a horror movie still because they want, obviously, they want to make their money because they haven't made their fucking money, is absolutely disgraceful. They need to really stop with the whole psychological thriller. If it's not psychological horror and they put it as horror or they advertise it as horror, they need to fucking stop. How do you feel about them tarnishing horror with psychological thrillers and serial killers? Serial killers do have their place in horror, but it wasn't executed like that. It was executed like a thriller. It was executed like a thriller. That's it. It wasn't executed like a horror. Or didn't have much psychological aspects until you actually realised it was more like brainwashing and subliminal messaging. And I couldn't believe that the way it was advertised, it was going to be like this crazy fucking horror movie based on a serial killer that was going after families, and it could all have all these other aspects, and then it wasn't, and then all the things that we thought it was and all the things they told us it wasn't. But they try to say that, oh, we've put all this stuff in front of you so you don't have to go looking. No, they don't want you to look for plot holes in the story when they start doing that. They don't want you to look into the movie like the way we do. They don't want you to do that because they want you not to look at the bigger picture that the story was shit. And then they had to speed up the ending because they basically realised, oh God, we've not got an ending. Or, oh God, this is dragged on and there's no ending. I'm very angry and disappointed still about that movie, and the fact that they're trying to push it as a horror movie again after its release and after it's went to streaming now, that it's going to be portrayed under that subgenre that it is not. For people to start slating things and saying it's a shit horror film, it's not a fucking horror film. It even says that on IMDb. It's not even classed as horror. But it wasn't, that's the thing. It was all psychological, so whether they've added it now is another thing. Have you seen Long Legs? Do you like Long Legs? Do you hate the fact that they're fucking with the horror genre? Again, do you hate the fact that people are writing such trife and shite about fucking movies, giving it 4 out of 5 and then saying the movie was shit? Of course, you're obviously being paid to fucking say that. I'm Lady Darcy Darkness. This is Rants. This is a Monday, so it's a Monday of Rants today. I hope you enjoy content like this. If you do enjoy content like this and you enjoy content from Confessions from the Darkside, you can get us at Twitter, which is X, Facebook, Twitter, which is X, Spotify, YouTube, Threads, and Instagram. If you think that there's something that I need to hear about, or there's something I do not know about, or something that you think needs to be raised to my attention here at Confessions from the Darkside, please email us at all lowercase, all one word, confessionsfromthedarkside@gmail.com. And I'm Lady Darcy Darkness, and this is Confessions from the Darkside. This was Rants. This was something, but it was definitely a rant. I'm Lady Darcy Darkness, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.